Welcome to the heretics and blasphemers, to the seekers of the unseen. You who have stepped beyond the borders of the conventional, we welcome you into the shadowed corridors of the occult and the profane. This is Unsanctioned, where the forbidden becomes knowledge and the boundaries are meant to be broken.
I am La Hechicera Len, who stands at the crossroads where spirits dwell and whisper secrets. Here, we explore the symbols, spells, and stories that society fears to acknowledge.
And I am Sebastian, the sorcerer of Annihilation. I believe in tearing down the false walls of illusion and embracing chaos. Together, we're here to shatter taboos and illuminate what lurks in the dark corners of folklore and magic. For those of you who don't know, I'm a faggot. Welcome to our episode. Heated rivalry. Okay, not today's episode, but we will be talking about heated rivalry in the post-show unedited, so jump on Patreon with us for that. But today's episode, listeners, well, first of all, welcome back to Unsanctioned. Today's episode is the introduction to your other co-host, me. That bitch. And yeah, we're going to kind of talk about sorcery, annihilation, a little bit about me, and Len is going to be the one to ask me all the juicy questions, which should be good because she's chismosa, so as we learned. Welcome back. I'm Sebastian, the Sorcerer of Annihilation. You can find me on social media at Sebas_the_storm on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok, where I offer services like divination, spellwork, and sorcery for hire. Or you can check out my tattoo page at sebas.tatt for occult and witchcraft-oriented tattoos and ritualized tattoos.
And I am La Hechicera Len. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Hechicera_Len. Yeah. Anyway, I have some questions for you, Sebastian.
And so, I made answers.
If the spirits will allow. No, let's start with that real quick. So, apologies to all of our listeners. Our previous episode, we went into it fully prepared. We had some shit we were going to talk about, and our spirits were like, no. Don't speak on that at all, actually. Don't speak.
You know how you said, learn when to shut the fuck up?
I'm still learning.
You're doing a great example right here, right now. Shut up. Don't say nothing.
Very that, yeah.
Very that.
So, yeah, sorry about that. Anyway.
Because it was a kind of chaotic episode. So instead of kind of diving into the crossroads, since we can't talk about certain things, today we're not going to really dive fully into sorcery. Maybe it'll definitely come up, but we're going to really keep it more interview focused rather than today being more about education. So we will have an episode though that will be more educational, hopefully, if the spirits allow us to speak. And in that case, we will have that later. But yeah, again, apologies from the both of us. That was a wild episode. It was a lot of, so yeah, redacted, and blah, 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 redacted. Like,
anyway, okay, so Sebastian, tell me a little bit about what got you into sorcery? Where did you start? Tell us your origin story.
Bitch with a backstory.
I'm not just a bitch. I'm a bitch with a backstory.
With that, is a funny, but not funny, haha story. Funny, weird. I grew up kind of in spirituality and the occult through a Catholic lens. I was very lucky to have a mother who didn't say that I was insane for seeing the shit I saw as a child, or having the experiences I was having as a kid. So props to that. Which definitely had a big impact because I easily could have thought I was going insane, which even with the support of my mother, there were moments where I was like, I've snapped. I've lost it. I'm going insane. I don't know what's going on. Um, I'm hallucinating, or there's something wrong with me because like I don't know how I know these things. I don't know what the fuck the shit that I'm seeing is. So to step back, the earliest account is me at 2 years old, telling my family that I'm seeing shit at two, and being tormented by spirits of various kinds, um, all the way well into my teens, um, and not learning how to do anything about it until maybe about 12. And the way that I kind of started getting into the more occult side of Catholicism, which I mean, the whole thing is kind of occult, um, emphasis on cult, um, is I had a dream. And in this dream, definitely wasn't a dream. Listeners, if you know, you know, um, probably was spirit flight at like 12 years old, 13, 14. Trauma makes the time frame blur. But I was told by a spirit to exit my house. And when I exited my house, I saw about what I want to say about 10,000, for lack of a better term, malefic spirits or demons. I don't like to use the word demons, but we'll get into that later. Um, Charging at my house, ready to kill me and my family. Um, and the spirit told me to make a specific hand sign, a specific gesture, and a specific incantation in a language I did not know. Um, and when I did it, basically all of the spirits were annihilated, like a shockwave, destroyed, obliterated, and killed. And I woke up knowing that that was not a dream, that that actually had happened. And I had various accounts of that happening, not just in the spirit flight, but like actually in the waking world where I would see things. We've talked about one time I saw a spirit pull a full like exorcist backbend run walk towards me. Um, Seeing things that look like a xenomorph come out of the ground, and other types of spirits, and even to the point where it was like a lot, like as a child, seeing crazy ass, scary ass shit. But I digress. And at one point, I end up leaving the Catholic Church. You probably heard me talk about that 1,000 times. Fuck the Catholic Church, and Catholics in general. But I ended up leaving the church, but I knew that there was something, right? Like I had had way too many experiences growing up. I had learned about Catholic folk magic practices, various types, such as like leaving blessed Saint Benedict coins above your door and under doormats, writing certain numbers in blessed chalk around door frames. I had learned about certain prayers and how they can be used for certain things, and the whole nine yards, right? I had dirt from Jerusalem. I had holy water that was blessed from another place. All these different things. Like I also was training to be an exorcist at one point, so that comes into play later. Um, and so I ended up leaving the church, but knowing that there was something that existed. And I grew up in martial arts, and at university they had a Tai Chi class, and I took it because I needed a PE credit. Love martial arts. Thought it would be an easy class. Turns out one I had two professors, one who taught the more martial arts side and then one who taught the more esoteric side, which coming from a Catholic university was a weird thing to have. And I'm very blessed to have had that experience because through this like 80-year-old woman who could move crazy. You would think she was like maybe 40, 50 by the way her body would move. It turns out at 18, or 16, she ran away from home, fled to China, and lived with the monks until she was like 18, 20. And then went to go learn yoga and like a bunch of other shit. But anyway, she was our Tai Chi and Qigong professor. So she taught me about the Tao and Qi and how to manipulate that within the body and outside the body as well. And then I started learning about like more Taoist mysticism um, and Taoist sorcery, and then I got dragged into that. And that was kind of the defining moment in which I kind of got into it. I had always had a love for like magic, and through like a science side, because growing up, I was really good at math and science until the ADHD button clicked on, and then that disappeared. Um, and so I was originally going to university for engineering, switched that, but um, I just always loved trying to figure out how magic and sorcery would work, and wanted to get into it really heavily. Um, and so that is kind of how my story starts with getting into like full blown sorcery and magic.
That is fascinating. I love hearing you talk about the. I know that it was probably horrifying for you, but like hearing you talk about like the spirit manifestations as a child is interesting. Um, so I do have another question for you. I have several questions actually, but so
Just one more.
um, just one more. You refer to yourself as a sorcerer, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what exactly is sorcery? How would you define that? And why the title sorcerer?
Yeah, so that's actually a more recent thing. Funny enough, is that for the longest time, I went by witch. And I didn't care. Like, for me, witch is gender neutral. As a non-binary person, even though like heavily masc presenting, like I definitely felt that like witch was the best identifier for me. And like growing up, I was taught like bruja means like witch, right? Like it doesn't matter if you're male or female, you're still a witch, right? Like brujeria is brujeria. And so I started going by witch, and then like also as brujo, but like I just went with witch because I was like, I don't feel like people being like explaining like, what does that mean? Like, bitch, it means witch. So for the longest time, I went by that, and then I felt that, and this is just my own experience, listeners. This is by no means an actual definition or categorical um, separation or anything like that. It's just my own personal experience. Is that like there's a difference between witch and sorcerer, and I aligned more with sorcery. And for me, it was like sorcery is more of a Swiss Army knife, a multi tool, if you will. And which is had become very new agey. Um, and I really wanted to come back to like the root of like the darker sides of magic and like what it means to be a practitioner. So like as we know, like brujeria has like some really fucked up shit in it. And I'm not afraid to do fucked up shit. Whereas like the modern application of the phrase witch gives a more benefic, non-violent archetype, if you will, just due to the way that white people took it and ran with it. Um, so I was trying to find something that felt more aligned to me, and um, in more traditional like grimoires and more traditional like historical text, a sorcerer is someone capable of great evil, but also like useful to society in various ways because like people still need them for certain things. So that's where I got into that, but also because in Taoist magic, the sorcerer is still seen as like a benefic figure mostly, but like they still are capable of like destructive magic. Like they followed the Tao, which like doesn't necessarily mean they are non-violent, but they would avoid it if need be. But if I have to, I will pull out the sword. I'll pull out the blade. Um, and so it really was like a really defining moment because in Taoist sorcery, there is a lot of exorcism. And I did perform a lot of that style of work. And so for me, it really dived into those types of concepts, pulling into my practice and like the blending of the philosophies of the Tao and the religious aspects, if you will, and the traditions of Taoist sorcery, and then blending that with brujeria and Middle Eastern magic are all things that kind of really helped me define sorcery. Like, as what it means for me as a sorcerer, like I'm capable of performing great blessings, but also great devastating curses. And that's kind of where we get into like where I go by like Sebastian Storm, is because like in Taoist sorcery, there's the concept of thunder rites and thunder like magic, which is heavily exorcistic and more I guess you would say baneful, maybe not necessarily malefic, but it is more baneful work. And baneful work can be protective work, right? So it's where we get into a lot of that. And it's honestly where I get a lot of my, I can't share that. So yeah. Did that answer the question?
No, try again. No, I'm just kidding. Uh,
Okay.
no, that was good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So my next question was going to be like, what types of workings are your go-to? But you kind of did answer that a bit already. Um,
Road openers, copy paste.
um, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I think destructive work, like it's funny because we talked about this the other episode where like even if I'm healing someone, it's like I'm gonna kill you first. Like like bitch, you can't be sick if you're dead. Um, oh no, it's just like it's funny because I was thinking about it recently and I've had this thought process before is like even when I'm doing blessings like it reflects a lot of like curse work. And this is where we kind of come back into like inversions, right? Like a blessing is just an inverted curse. And a curse is just an inverted blessing. And this comes back to like annihilation. Like you can't create without destroying first. So like a lot of my work is destructive. It is very battle oriented, tactical, if you will. Um, And so, like, my go to workings are typically domination type works or things that manipulate or trick or maneuver things. It's very strategic. Um, and honestly, that would be like my go to stuff. Like, a lot of the times, like, if you're having issues with a problem, like, if I'm having issues with something, I'm going to do a domination because then I can control said situation, right? Like domination's not necessarily just in a I think there's like this negative connotation to domination work. um but domination can be a lot of different things. Like okay, I need to have domination over my financial habits. I need to have domination over um the chaos at work. For example, like if you work in a very disorganized space, um, or it can straight up be like, I need to dominate over this opponent. Um, so, for example, recently I had a person who was in upper management who was like coming to work with like a giant stick up their ass, super micromanagey, just kind of like all around like not fitting the vibe of like the place that I work, and it was just like becoming detrimental to everybody. Like we were already not in great morale and this person was just making it worse. And all I did was a simple like well uh like the shoe domination, like put their name in your shoe. Now I did put some oil that I made myself, which now I know works wonders. And the person had a meltdown and got drunk at work and then soft quit. Um, all pretty rapidly. And I said, "Damn,
Good
bitch,
riddance.
you don't got no protections? All I did was your name in my fucking shoe." Like, bitch, ward up. Like, you don't got a single thing. You out here butt ass naked. Uh, but yeah, so a lot of the work that I go to is more that category of work. Um, oh, and weather magic. Duh. Yeah, weather magic is a big thing that I lean into for a number of different things as well.
We love that. Love that. Okay. Can you share anything that you have done allegedly?
Allegedly, okay,
It doesn't have to be specific to weather magic, but like if there's anything that's like, I mean, you did already. Like you talked about the. Okay,
I
if you
mean, I
want
talked
to.
about the domination. I
Hmm.
have no problem talking about other work, um, allegedly that I've done. Um, I think it's hard because it's like in what context? Like, there's so much that. Okay, so step back, listeners. I've been doing this for 10 years, and that's like not including the stuff that I learned like growing up, from like my mother, and my grandmother. So like that's like a decade's worth of spell work, um, that we can talk about. But I mean, I've performed a number of works that have had very physical manifestations, very physical outcomes. Um, the spirits I work with love to get shit done. I work with a lot of martial, war, wrathful spirits. Um, I think so. I work with a lot of spirits, and so of very specific categories. Um, Me trying to stay very generic and broad so they don't cut our audio again. But like I said, they do have a lot of physical manifestations. Like for example, they have definitely messed with our audios and recordings before, and they will literally like one time they shut my entire computer off when I was in the middle of like talking. They literally like ripped the power out of the back of the computer. So I have a Mac, like a Mac desktop, and so like it has like the plug that goes into the center of the back. That shit got ripped out in the middle of a conversation, and I was like, you could just say not to say that. Um,
You don't have to
but
be so rude.
yeah, like bitch, don't interrupt. But okay, so workings that I've done before. I have done mojo bags, if you will, mojo hands, if you want to call them, amuletos. I have done a lot of like court case, anti-law, anti-court work. And this one that I did for a client was fantastic. I loved this bag. I'm so happy that they got it. Um, and I gave them the basically rules and taboos. And one of them was like, you cannot open this bag. You cannot tell anybody what this bag is for, like blah, 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 right? But it is to keep you from getting arrested. And so they were crossing state borders, and got pulled over, and they were with somebody else. Um, and other person got arrested. Cop had her in handcuffs on the curb and found the bag and said, "What is this?" And she was like, "I don't know," because obviously the clients don't know what's in the bag. But she basically was like, "It's like witchcraft. Please don't open it." And he opened it, closed that shit up, gave it to her, let her go, and said, "I'm not fucking with that," and left. Um, at which point she did have to perform the work of burying it and putting the spirit to rest. But like one of my favorite experiences that a client's told me was like that one. Um, is like because there's more to it, but like I can't share all of it. And it was just funny that the cop like freaked out and was like, "Nah, fuck this. This ain't worth my time." um, and then of course there are other types of things that maybe some listeners may remember from a different era of podcast, if you will, in which allegedly I caused a flood, allegedly, and a lot of white supremacists and potential future white supremacists were taken out. Um, Not sorry. Um, yeah, definitely allegedly was tied to my work that I did allegedly. Um, don't fuck with me. Listen, if it means losing some lives to bring okay, so this is something that I also talk about when it comes to like titles is like there are responsibilities and things that are involved with it that nuances that people don't understand. Like for example, being in charge of certain types of spirits means that you have to be in charge of certain types of care and well-being for the environment. And so, as a practitioner, if your area is suffering extreme drought and it's destroying the environment, you can bring rain to fix said drought and help said spirits who are causing, or like, depending on your traditions, causing said drought or becoming rambunctious because there is a drought, um, which can be like a number of different things, right? So, um, I basically was like, look, this is a very important spiritual center for the city I was in. It was dry, there was no water, which is not good considering for how long it was without water. There were like times that, yes, it would go without water, but for this long and this bad was like really record breaking. And so, like, the spirits and I like were talking, and I was like, okay, let's bring some water in. Um, and then they did, but exchanges have to happen. And so yeah, blood was given and bitches were ate up and the water came back. Um,
I
yeah,
was about to say, in the Mexica tradition, the only way to get water is through offering of some kind of blood. So,
right. And as we know, storm spirits be hungry bitches. Um, so granted, I will share this. I definitely should have been like, okay, that's enough. Y'all have ate too much. But at the same time, y'all were eating really good.
y'all were eating good. Y'all ate that shit up.
Yeah, I said, "Oh, that's Michelin star." Um, so yeah, I think one of the most recent works though, and you guys can see that like listeners, you guys definitely want to jump on my Instagram because I do random, like really quick random community works where it's like you have to sign up and because the work's gonna happen in a few hours, and if you don't, you miss the window. And these works, are like road openers or money and like blah blah blah. And I had a client who had lost their car um, and did not have the funds to buy a new one. And I performed this work, and within that weekend, they had enough money to put a down payment on a car and take a trip to Las Vegas. Um, so like those were like results as well. I've done a work where I needed $3,000 and I got that shit within 2 days. Um, yeah, so like I love practical sorcery, emphasis on practical, like get shit done, see results. He said,
That
period.
was perfect. I do have a follow up question in regard to the practical aspect of the sorcery. So, what, if you can speak on it, what does the sorcery itself look like? What kind of, if you're able to share, what materia do you use? Like, you talk about sigils, like a big part of it is like drawn sigils. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. I do use a lot of sigil work, seals, pentacles, things like that. Through my years, it's been a lot of experimentation of seeing what works and doesn't work. And it's been a lot of like de conditioning myself to certain things. Like, for example, we've kind of had this conversation off show, and we can probably talk about this another day. But like for me, money is not earth related. Money is fire. And so if I want to see results with money, I'm going to use fire for that. Um, when I talk about practical sorcery, I think a lot of people think of magic and they think like more open-ended concepts, like not tangible results, or they're not used to seeing tangible results and they think that's just how it should be. Like, for example, if you're used to being like doing a road opener, but you're just getting good luck out of it, like for example, like, oh, like you found like a bunch of coupons. Like, guess what? Your road opener worked, just not in the way that you thought, right? Or like like a Venami for like money. Like, yeah, you got like a bunch of coupons. You got like a deal on money. Whereas practical sorcery would be like, no, you found like $100 when you like turned around, like it materialized in front of you. It's like, for example, like being locked out of a space and literally being able to unlock the lock with just magic. Um, Not even like a lockpick set. And like one time I've done it with just Palo Santo, lit that shit on fire, set an incantation, the door opened. Um, Practical sorcery is like getting practical results. So instead of it being like, ugh, the vibes and the rose quartz up my pussy align me to my dreamed life, it's like, nah, bitch, we are forcing this to happen, right? And like we've talked about this before, you guys know, like when you I talk about dominating or like forcibly doing something, it's like, look, do you want results or not, right? It's like if you want a job but you're not applying for a job, you're never going to get it, right? um or you're not like networking, you're not using the tools given to you, there are going to be no results. So a lot of the material that I use reflects that as well, but I'm also very practical about my material. I'm not using super rare items. Like it's not like, oh, I need this specific thing from this specific area in China. Like it's not like that. I'll just get that on Shein. Um, but uh, like a lot of the material I work with when I talk about practical sorcery as well is like stuff that's in your backyard, stuff you already have in your kitchen, stuff that you talk to your spirits and they're like, actually, that if you used the coffee grounds that you used on this day, use that and it'll actually be really good for road opening. Or, like instead of doing some crazy elaborate ritual that's from like a like new agey book, girl, just go out and um, light the petition on fire at the crossroads and it'll get done. Like, or go to a certain area and give that land spirit this and it'll get done, right? It's like really about not having to worry about like, okay, I don't have, I don't know, Angelica root right now or St. John the Conqueror, so I can't perform domination work, right? Like, no, go outside and ask the spirits what materia right outside your door can be used for domination, just as powerful as Saint John the Conqueror, right? Um, for example, I have a spirit who loves water, right? So I collect different types of waters for different things, and that materia is very important to my work. Um, I love lighting things on fire. Um, Spirits as well. So like liquor, I'm a bartender. It's literally called a spirit. Very useful in various ways. So are the containers that they're in. It's a literal thing that was used to house a spirit. Makes it super useful for a number of things. Um, yeah, so like just thinking practically, I think a lot of people overthink or think too like open-ended, whereas like because they're scared. I think there's this subconscious fear of like actually seeing these results happen. Like, oh my God, like I actually opened a door without a key. That's so scary. And it's like subconscious, like religious trauma of like seeing shit like that. But at the same time, in Catholicism, there's like lore of like statues crying blood and all this other shit. So it's like, bitch, what?
But it's different though because it comes from God or some. I don't know what the fuck did they say. I don't know.
Literally, like they're like, "Ugh, but what you're doing is from the devil. And what of it?
And what of it?
Who said that? What I want to say is that like the modern term of witch, kind of coming back to like where I switched my concept to being defined as a sorcerer and performing sorcery, is the reliance on deities and spirits. I feel like the modern application of the phrase witch is very much just Catholicism with a different deity thrown in. Like people just will replace the Christian god, Abrahamic god, for Hecate or I don't know, Zeus, Persephone, Isis. People switching them for like even demons like Asmodeus, the devil itself, themselves. And it's like funny because I'm like, dude, the devil was like, bro, this is not what I wanted. Um, but yeah, like I realized that like I also was kind of doing that. And I sat with my spirits and I was like, look, I'm relying too heavily on an external source, and that was like my biggest problem with one of my biggest problems with Catholicism among the 2056 reasons of why I hate Catholicism, is like the reliance upon an external source to get shit done. And it's like, no, I have the capability, I have the means, I have the tools to get the work done. So instead of relying on an outside source and then being upset when it doesn't work, I'm going to do it myself so I can see the results and be like, okay, well, what do I need to change to see the results change? And so that was like a huge step in which I switched from like being a witch to sorcerer. And it was kind of crazy. I won't lie. It was a really intimidating experience because like almost all my spirits, like the main brand spirits, all of them main brand spirits stepped back, radio silence. And I was like, oh fuck. And then they were like, remember, this is what you wanted. We're going to do it for you. Like, we believe in you. Go do it. We're so proud of you, honey. You're doing great, sweetie. Go. And it did take a lot of transitioning. It almost felt like I was starting from ground zero, and had to like rebuild my entire practice from that. And so I think for society and the broader implications of sorcery, I just want to see more people dive into that kind of experience of like stop replacing and relying on external like sources, and really get shit done yourself. Like you are the one with the power. You are the one who sits at the highest throne in the pantheon of your spirits. Why can't you get shit done yourself without relying on external like sources? And I'm not saying that I don't rely on my spirits. It's just saying that it's not like a weird like, oh please God, bring me the money that I need. Let it be in your plan that I have money, versus like, nah, I need you to bring me this money and I need it by this day and I need this amount. Bring it to me. There's a difference.
Absolutely. There's a difference between making a petition and going and working that shit yourself. Very much so. Because that's really what it feels like. There's a different like it's you're either petitioning the spirit to be like, hey, please, just whenever you feel like it, or whenever you have a chance, please bring this to me, instead of being like, hey, ripping holes through space and time to ensure that you get the shit that you need.
You better work, bitch.
You better work.
Uh, no, truly. And I think too, like, um, looking back at like sorcerers and lore, mythology, folklore, I rely heavily on that. Like, a lot of it is like get that shit done yourself. Don't rely on others because it doesn't work as well when you rely on others. Like, why do that if you can do it yourself and see that work? And again, it's not saying that I don't have my spirits who help. My spirits are a great deal of assistance to me in a number of different ways. But it's like if a boss was like, hey, whenever you get around to it, can you do this? Like, you're going to put that off to the last second, right? Versus if the boss is like, I need this by 2 p.m. today. You got shit to do. And that shit needs to get done by 2 p.m. Well, so
Well,
I think that is something as well. And I think too, I think like I want to see people grow in sorcery. And I think we're right at the cusp of that. Like I think we're at the point where a lot of like serious practitioners have thrown themselves back into traditions and like practices and all of those things of the past, which is like necessary for us to move into the future. And we all know I love techware and shit like that. So this is where like that all comes into play. Is like, okay, taking older concepts and applying them to modern ideas or furthering them into a future concept is something that I want to see more of. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it has to be like it was 100,000 years ago, or it's not gonna like there's no point in doing it. And it's like, no, you have to look at how it was 100,000 years ago in order to modernize it in future, make it better for the future, and grow upon it. It wasn't meant to just be stagnant. It's meant to be grown upon, to expand upon. And I really want to see a lot more of that in various ways. Like I wish AI wasn't so fucking destructive and scary and evil in a number of ways, because I would have loved to see how that works for practitioners in like the near future. But it's like, okay, I know this is going to be like really, 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 really far fetched, but like, bitch, I want to see how magic's being done in like 200 years from now. Like, what are you guys doing? What does magic look like? What has changed? You know, for me, like even when we talk about big name spirits or other types of deities, you know, these spirits now rule over new things, right? Like who rules over cars? Who rules over cell phones? Who rules over the internet? Who rules over satellites? Who rules over the cloud? Who rules over um like I'm trying to think. All those like things that we have now that they didn't have back then.
me actually, I'm the one that governs it all.
The crossroads, yes.
The
It's everything.
crossroads,
Everything all at once. Everything all at once. Um
which is a good movie, by the way.
Amazing. I ugly cried for like a good portion of it. Um yeah.
Shame.
What I want to see is a lot of people go out there and get shit done in terms of destroying fascist regimes and destroy your government. I want to see you all go fuck shit up. And I want to see it more practically. Take that Florida water, light that shit on fire, and throw it at an ice agent.
I love that. Yes, actually, yeah, yeah. Douse them in Florida water and light them on fire. Um,
It's called cleansing.
it's called cleansing, babes. You are cleansing the earth of its fucking. I know that you said you don't like this word, but demons, get rid of them. um,
Let's talk about that actually really quick. I do want to clarify that because like growing up as a Latino and Catholic, I had no other word besides demon. But I don't like that because it really gives demons a bad rap, and like demons are not inherently, I think, evil. I mean, some of them have great potential for it. I think it's like a scorpion, like it naturally has the potential to sting you, but it doesn't mean it's going to just because, you know, but it definitely has the potential to fuck you up just because. But I think too, like we forget that the word demon comes from a spirit that teaches, right? And so that versus what I was experiencing growing up was just something really trying to either kill me, destroy me or torture me or all these horrible things, which is not a growing moment, which I guess I did learn a bit in the sense of like that should exist and you need to fuck them up before they fuck you up. Um,
They said, we'll make this a teaching moment.
Bitch, I am 2 years old.
It's never
But
too early to start learning.
they really said, girl, day one, they said, we starting now. Yeah, it was a really hard thing though to truly experience as a child, like honestly, so traumatizing. And also like how do you tell people like, bro, there is something attached to you that's like trying to devour you in some way, shape, or form. But it did make me a really good exorcist at being able to identify these types of spirits or entities and what they're doing, why they're doing it. Were they human? Were they ever human before? Were they once human and now aren't and can't go back to being human? Um, are they older than humanity? I don't like those. Those suck. Um, yeah, so it really is like there's like a shit ton of like categorical spirits in that regard that are not demons, but I like what I call them is like abysmal. Like they're just truly like they exist to fuck you up. And I mean they're everything from smaller types of spirits to things the size of like skyscrapers. I have seen things that would probably make the average person shit themselves. Um, but I think to be a practitioner, you also have to be a little bit crazy. So that way, when things like this happen, your brain doesn't just snap.
I agree. I still think about that, like, that I think it was a tweet. It was either a tweet or I said on threads. Um, but like, how are you gonna call yourself a witch and be afraid of spiders? Like,
Me seeing colossal evil spirits and being like, anyway, then looks over and sees a little spider and kills myself. Uh, don't understand it. Um, but yeah, that's me.
it's just, yeah, it's funny. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It is, it is. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Do you have any questions off script that you have for me or anything you want to talk about?
How does your martial arts practice, how is it involved in your sorceress tradition? How do they connect?
That
As much as
is
detail as you're able to give.
that is such a good one. I can actually share quite a bit about that one. Um, it can I pause because I was like, oh yeah, then I yoink. Um, am I allowed to share about that? Yes, but carefully. Okay. Um, okay, I can't share that.
Finding out in real time what we can and can't speak
Can
on.
literally listeners, sometimes the spirits be like this. It's not something we plan for. Sometimes you'll just be like, oh well, I mean in this case, and then they cut you off and you're like, oh actually never mind. um it's like they're like holding your mouth and they're like no, don't say that. Okay, so martial arts affects my sorcery, and has a place in my practice for discipline, meditation, manipulation of energy. Um, these are all things. The use of weapons. I can't go into detail about that, but weaponry has a place in which you do have to know how to use these weapons properly, what they align to, how they're used to manipulate energy or chi in various ways, what kind of chi they have. Using the wuxing system of like earth, wood, fire, water, and metal. Like those are typically the elements I use, which is like not something a lot of people know about me actually. Is like I don't I kind of blend that with like earth, air, fire, and water, but in a different way than most people. And that's just coming from like the Taoist practice. But the forms and types of martial arts that I know and also inform my practice. So when practicing Taoist sorcery or other types of, I can't share that. When practicing Taoist sorcery, there are certain movements that are necessary, certain katas, certain forms that are necessary to enact certain things. I've talked about this before. This isn't a secret, and I can share this. But like the use of mudras is really important in my work, especially in Taoist sorcery. That's like really heavy. Um, and so manipulating chi is something that is taught in martial arts, especially since the martial arts I know are all internal. So you have like external martial arts and internal, yin and yang. Doesn't mean that it's only yin movement or yin energy. It's just like open palm versus closed palm. Like, what is the style of work? Is it like more direct or is it more manipulation of your opponent? Um, Mine are all yin, so they're all internal martial arts, which really teach me a lot about like manipulating things, manipulating my state of mind, manipulating my energy, shaping that in different ways. But also, if I'm facing an opponent, how can I maneuver them and their energy against themselves? Um, and so, this is all things that are applied into my practice in various ways. I don't know if I can share that. I think too, like there are some more like abstract concepts in martial arts that come forward a lot when it comes to like the occult, because a lot of martial arts have a heavy occult side to them. Um, so utilizing that in a number of different ways can really be helpful. But there are animal forms that are very important to my practice in a number of different ways that are useful for different things if I'm doing different types of work. Um, I think, yeah, I think that's what I can share about that. Um, it kind of ties into like when I talk about Buddhist Taoist sorcery, that's also where we get like my tattoos from, which is like a signature that people recognize me from, is my tattoos. They're very recognizable. So if you've seen me on social media or you're watching on Patreon, trying to see how I can get this best. So these are my tattoos that I have, and it's on both arms, symmetrical. Um, and it's the use of a double Vajra or double lightning bolts. So coming back to thunder practice and the use of that in Buddhist Taoist sorcery, the Vajra is known as the divine weapon, the lightning bolt of the gods. So this is like my like way of being like I am a sorcerer, I'm an exorcist, I have the divine decree of heaven. Um, do what I say. Be gone, bitch. Um, but it also comes into practice with like martial arts because it is like the lightning bolt. So it is like a weapon in and of itself that I can use when facing certain types of entities, whether that's here or in the spirit world, because your tattoos actually travel with you in the spirit world and actually have form and function in the spirit world as well. So those are things to think about as well, which we will have an episode on occult tattoos, um, because I can talk about that all day.
I am very interested to hear you talk about that more whenever we do get to that. Because I don't have any tattoos and I would like
Yeah.
some. Exactly, exactly. Um, yeah.
Yeah, because I like there's so much listeners that we can get into with that. Like, okay, using it as a seal to house spirits, using it as different concepts. What does that mean within different traditions and like all these different things um, are like super important for tattoos in various ways. And unlike a lot of people, I do think the imagery and symbolism that you get tattooed on you is very, very important.
I agree as well. And like The image itself should be important. It should hold some kind of significance. I like the idea. I'm probably going to cut this, but I like the idea. Like we've talked about how you've said that you hold spirits in your body, like you house them in your body. I have kind of experimented with that to an extent, but it's less of like I don't know. Like I want to be able to see it, and that's why I like the idea of the tattoo spirit house. Because if I can't see it, then I don't know. Like I want to be able to. I
Then it
don't know.
doesn't exist.
Very yeah.
Funny enough, I actually was going to talk to you about this. I want to get the four that rule over me and my Donali reading tattooed on me.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I want that too.
And I want it kind of associated to where they roll over. Like I want to shave the sides of my head and get like something like there.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Um, Something on my leg. Like for me, it's like segmented like vertically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like I want to do it like that, but it's also kind of weird because like I could also we can get into this in the post show actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listeners, if you have any questions for me, because we didn't really get to drop a chance for y'all to ask, please drop your questions on Patreon or email them to us or drop them on Instagram. You can DM us or however you feel best and most comfortable. Please feel free to interact with us. We won't bite, I promise, or maybe a little bit. And yeah, so definitely interact with us. I know the last two episodes had a lot of information about us, and that's still not even like the tip of the iceberg. There's still so much more about us as practitioners that you will come to learn, besides the fact that we're like literally insane. Um, Yeah, but yeah, thank you all for having me as one of your co-hosts on Unsanctioned. I'm so happy to be here and so happy to have the my amazing co-host Len, the Witch of the Crossroads, for us on this journey. For the next episode, for those of you who are still here, thank you for listening all the way through. Our next episode is going to be Rye from the Red Text Podcast, our first guest of our podcast. And they are super excited to be on. We're super excited to have them on. We're going to be talking about the shadow self, more psychological aspects of practice and the shadow work. We probably, knowing all three of us, will dive into dream work and Santa Muerte at some point or another. So be prepared for that and be prepared to have your questions ready. So if you have questions for those, please drop them under that post or send them to us in an email about that. We'd love to hear from you and your experiences. And please don't forget to leave us a review wherever you're listening. It helps us kind of defeat the algorithm in a number of ways. We all hate that monstrosity. And so, yeah, the more you kind of interact with us, the better that we can reach our audience, you and all your friends and all the people interested in learning more about the occult, breaking taboos, and becoming unsanctioned.
And at this time, we would like to thank our Patreon supporters at the Blasphemer tier by name. Thank you to Pablo Rodriguez. Thank you so much for your support and walking with us on the path less traveled.
And I did forget, but you don't forget to join us over on Patreon at patreon.com/unsanctioned, capital UNS, where we have three tiers for you to embark upon: the Heretic tier at $3 a month, the Malefactor at $8 a month, and the Blasphemer tier at $13 a month. You get a lot of different benefits and little surprises. So, for example, anyone at the Blasphemer tier will be able to join us as a live audience member on the next episode. You can actually get Q&A answered on air. monthly forecast general readings, access to our post show called Unedited. You get everything such as access to our Discord server, your name read in the credits as we just saw with our fantastic supporter Pablo, and some small merch items sent and group spell work from us depending on your tier. So definitely go check that out, and don't be afraid to say hi and interact with us.
And we want to hear from you. Share your stories, encounters with spirits, or your own forbidden rituals. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Unsanctioned Podcast, or email us directly at podcastunsanctioned@gmail.com.
Remember, what's considered taboo is often where strength and power lies. Stay unbound, stay unsanctioned.
Until next time, walk boldly into the shadows.
And let the forbidden be your guide.